What are you saying? Getting ready to start.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the New Britain Township Board of Supervisors meeting for December 9th. Please stand and join with me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, as for all. Thank you very much. The board met in executive session before the meeting to discuss personnel and litigation matters. On to agenda item 3, presentations. We have 545 West Butler Avenue, Spotless Brands Car Wash. That was great.
Yes.
Good evening, everyone. My name is David Chapwitz. If you guys will bear with us for a few minutes, we might be having easel issues here, but I'm here tonight on behalf of Spotless Brands, which is the equitable owner of parcel properties referred to as 545 West Butler Pike. As the board is well aware, this property is located on the corner of Butler and County Line Road. That was unfortunately known as the former Wawa. And all the problems that came with that, I'm quite aware. Property is located in the C1 zoning district. And one of the things that I wanted to show the board, but as Sean puts that together, was just a kind of a picture of where it's located.
We never take it down.
Sean, do you have the area? Yeah.
It's pretty.
Question.
So in referring to the aerial, we occupy, or this property is, for I know is well aware, is one of the corners of the intersection County Line of Butler, which shares an intersection with the CVS across the street. What I think used to be the BP gas station and Dunkin' Donuts located here, the Lukoil, kind of like in the parking lot of the supermarket shopping center in the Target World, I believe, next door. And as we discussed, was a former retail use. As Sean's going to hand out everything that's on this particular easel tonight. Yeah. And I do recall, I remember being here at the board, like similar for the site, pension property donuts, location. For various reasons, that wasn't able to work out. So when the property was really in the market, besides some of the inquiries that we got on potential uses, Spotless Brands came to us with looking to buy the site for a car wash. Specifically, the car wash is permitted in C1 district. And for purposes of this particular project, the car wash was sized for this particular site. I think you might, maybe you recall, your staff probably recalls that this originally started with like a 4,000 square foot building. Of a different design, a different layout. Going through discussions with staff, discussions with the planning commission, they were able to narrow down the use, so to speak, to a 2,900 square foot building. That is a tunnel used for the car wash. It's driver stays in the car, stays with the car as it goes through. There is vacuum booms proposed for the rear of the site, which consists of about 16 vacuum booms. There's 3 employee parking spaces for a total of 19 parking spaces. The booms are available for customers as they leave the car wash if they want to use them. They're not manned by employees, they're free and they're available to customers. Otherwise, they're free to leave the site. One of the things that we've been looking at with this particular use and particular site is knowing the history of the infection. Not living that far from here, at one point, how bad that intersection was with the Wawa and even with Dunkin' back in the day. This site will work with ending any access on Butler Pike. So it's proposed and that elimination of that access has also been discussed with PennDOT. We are gonna have the ingress and egress off of County Line Road. As a matter of fact, I think we're even going a step further, is that the egress from County Line Road is only right-hand turn movement. There'll be no crossing of traffic to get to the traffic light. We've had the preliminary discussions with PennDOT on those issues. PennDOT has reviewed a traffic study when it was originally the Dunkin' Papa John's and then the Dunkin'. And believe it or not, the Dunkin' would actually generate more traffic to this location than the car wash does, pursuant to those standards, which will ultimately then also lead to the conclusion as PennDOT's also look at the stacking and the concerns that it may at some point hit County Line Road, and there's been no concern that that would be an issue based on what's being proposed on the site where we have, not including cars in the tunnel, which could be somewhere between 4 or 5 at a time, room for at least 20 cars to be on site before they even get to the ingress and egress point in County Line Road. So, as part of the other thing that developed, which I'm actually kind of proud to share with the board, because I give my client a lot of credit and willing to put the resources in. Thanks, Al. I understand, so. But you got, I think you got it, Al. Right, yeah. Is what it's gonna look like. You know, living and working in Bucks County as well, and this particular user not being from this area, they are a very big operation in Washington DC, Maryland, Delaware area. They now have a lot of projects pending, not necessarily in Bucks County per se yet, but there's one in Blue Bell, there's one in Lower Providence. They're coming into the area. We were trying to explain to them what it should look like, and knowing what would be important to this community and as an entrance feature to New Britain Township, giving it a feel that would really fit and probably be the envy of the other 4 corners or 3 corners, I should say, in this area. Where one of the things that we've always talked about was a welcome to New Britain sign, mimicking the wrought iron fencing and the brick pillars or stone pillars that are like similar to the Wawa did, and creating all those types of features on this site. The other thing we talked to the client about was, as great as these pictures look, we all know, and always told me, is yeah, that's what it looks like 20 years from now. It doesn't look like that when you put those 4-inch saplings in. And one of the things we talked to the client is, and maybe during the land development process as it comes up and working with the EAC and staff and stuff, is being able to plant more mature landscaping as the project progresses, coming up with the right species, coming up with the right size. You know, obviously it wouldn't be the full-size trees, but it would be something more substantial to help expedite the look. Because I think it goes well with the way the architecture has been designed for this particular site. Now, this particular angle we're looking at on the corner of County Line and Butler, the entrance, or actually that's the exit to the tunnel. The entrance to the tunnel will be on this side. Ingress and egress down here from County Line Road. The circulation is also mapped out on the plans that were provided. This is just a view to get a sense of what the building would look like, depending if, as we go through land development process, what type of landscaping would be more appropriate for the location. The one thing that's interesting is that we just want our customers to get to the point that they're aware there's a car wash there. I don't know if the branding matters as much because it's new. So usually, I'm sure we get the fight with the colors and the look and they have to recognize it as, we just want them to know that there's a facility here that they can take advantage of. Also, we wanted to provide a new elevation or a site view from coming down Butler Pike to the intersection. Obviously, you can see the CVS kind of filled in. And again, depending on the nature of the landscaping, I love our architect was creative enough to get the fall colors in LA. But you know that we'll have to talk about what makes the most sense from that perspective. But at least it gives kind of a realistic view of what can be seen there. And I think with the right amount of landscaping, with the fencing, would be that as cars are making use of this location, they'll be well shielded or can be well shielded if we go to, look at that process. And again, just another view of what the building could look like. It is going to be it's a one-story building with a mezzanine. Mostly on the mezzanine is the equipment's on top. We will be compliant with building height and those, and all those types of things. And from a Vulcan area standpoint, we know there's a few pre-existing nonconformities as to building size with the ingress and egress points and that kind of thing. And what this client was trying to do was eliminate as much of the nonconformities or reduce them, make it more compliant. And I think one of the ultimate benefits, again, for being too familiar with the site, is losing that ingress and egress ultimately from Butler. No matter what happens here 30, 40 years from now, that won't be an issue plaguing the township going forward. So this, was the old site. We kind of know what that looks like. Like I said, from a pre-existing nonconformities perspective, it's a little undersized. It doesn't have a lot width or depth that's otherwise required. But the applicant is, like I said, trying to eliminate, because there is a requirement that the lot width, when you're taking access to an arterial street, be 250 feet. Since we're eliminating actually access to one of the arterial streets, kind of reducing that nonconformity, even though our site just can't we can't make it grow, unfortunately. This sheet just has like a black and white layout of what the property would look like. What we were trying to do with the vacuum booms in the rear is do a couple of things. One is kind of mute the color so it doesn't really stand out or look as obvious from the street. We wanted to kind of put where they come out of the ground in the same setback as the old building. So they kind of actually mirror the setback from the old Wawa building. There's sufficient room for escape lanes should people be in line and want to leave, they can. There's enough room for trash removal. We have 3 employee parking spaces. And, we believe that one of the things that we'll talk to the zoning hearing board about is that these vacuum booms areas, if we actually need parking, which we usually don't anticipate anymore, even at the 3 employees on the site, that there's nothing else retail wise being sold there. So, and if people come in and, the model of the car wash is to sell membership. So people get a key card, and they can just come, swipe their card, go through. If they want to use vacuum, they can. And then of course there'll be an attendant at the pay areas to collect money if that's the other option. But we expect to be pretty smooth from that perspective, that as it gets known in the area and these memberships are purchased, which I think they say about 60% of the users will ultimately buy memberships, that they can just swipe their keys and kind of go in and go out. Couple other things that from a development of the site, as we discussed, if we're lucky enough to get through the zoning parts of it, will require land development approval. During that land development process, we understand the township is considering some new landscaping and stormwater management requirements. We are maintaining the same level of impervious cover, but I think we can work with staff, have no problem working with staff on doing our best to address any of those new issues, making the site a little bit better, improving those kind of conditions, as we said, working with staff and VAC on appropriate landscaping, species, materials, and stuff along those lines. From a lighting perspective, this isn't one of those sites that they expect to light up when it goes dark. It'll be muted and when we're maybe just the building is kind of lit up. I don't, from an hours of operation, I think they usually close by 8 to 8. So it would be more of security lighting than it would be trying to light the place up. But again, that's something we'd be happy to work with staff as we get through more of those details on the land development process. Trying to think if any other items that would be of real interest in terms of the way it's designed, it's laid out. The good news is that with working with staff, we were able to kind of narrow down what we need from the zoning hearing board. Because of some of the pre-existing nonconformities, it really kind of got us down to 2 things, one of which was related. We had the same issue with regard to both the existing Wawa or the old Wawa and the Telford Donuts, where paving in the proximity to the building has to be a certain distance, which we can't achieve, and that requires a variance. And then the interpretation that we're going to ask from the zoning hearing board after we, of course, convince them that we don't need the parking, that we can allow the if need be, not only the 3 employee parkings, but the parking for the vacuum areas if we needed overflow for some reason. What my operations folks had told me that if we're at our peak, like killing it, 63% of our users use the vacuum. That who you get a wash, 60%, 63% will then use the vacuum. So there always seems to be room for some overflow. We figure it'll be somewhere between 5 and 10 spaces, depending on the nature of the day. But like I said, because there's no retail component, there really shouldn't be reason for people to be hanging out. So we don't, which is not what we want. With me also tonight is I do have our traffic engineer, Alberto Rico, our design engineer, Sean Granahan, and John Lombardo from Spotless Brands. I know one of the things that's kind of interesting about what Spotless does is being kind of a player in this field is they figured out different ways to actually recycle some of the water that they use. If there's any concerns about the type of materials, chemicals, products that they use, he can address some of that now. Or, we could do that through the land development process. But he was telling me that, it would be public water, public sewer, but they're able to recycle like 43% of the water that they use. So I don't know how they do it, but, there's some interest we can get to that, but they're able to take light of that. I don't think there's anything that they use is harmful to the environment. But certainly, John, if you, I don't know if you want to maybe give a little brief overview about Spotless and some of those types of things, you can join us up here. The board's fine.
While he's coming up, so the zoning hearing board application only has 3 variances. You mentioned about working with staff to reduce them. One is interpretation of the parking with basically combined space. And I think that's not an issue. And then the other one is a setback from the building, which Dunkin' Donuts was granted the similar relief. It really leaves just one variance, which is a side yard setback. The existing building of Wawa was 10 feet from the northwesterly side lot line. The vacuum booms are considered structures and they're 7 feet. So they're asking for a 3 foot.
You're right, and I think, Sean, we were able to.
We moved them so they're.
Yeah, we're able to adjust the booms to get them to that 10 feet.
There you go. Okay.
So,
So you're this close, so by right?
that close.
Okay, well, that's good. I didn't know that. So that's the extent of the variances. They were a little larger or more extensive when we first saw the Dunkin' Donuts and went through that. And now they've been really good to work with and trying to reduce the amount of variances. And we'll get the waivers through the subdivision development. But so that's the only variances then that you would need. Okay.
I would like to hear from your traffic engineer
Traffic.
about.
He's been dying. So I usually bring him just for show, so.
Hi, good evening, Federico. So, hey, from a traffic perspective, this one's, it's not the Wawa. So it's going to be generating significantly less traffic than that site used to. Previously, when it was the Wawa and was generating a lot of traffic, you had the driveways, both to Butler Avenue and to County Line Road. Through the initial process that we went through with the Dunkin' Donuts, I'm sorry, Dunkin', I still got a name change. Dunkin'. There was a lot of discussion about some of the collisions around here. We had some initial discussions with PennDOT. Actually, PennDOT had approved the traffic study for the Dunkin'. At the time, we were proposing to limit the Butler Avenue exit or driveway to exit only and restrict the County Line Road driveway so that you couldn't make a left out. And that seemed to have a lot of traction at the time. With this concept, we're just getting rid of the Butler Avenue driveway. We're still maintaining the left-hand out restriction onto County Line Road. There were some, I think, discussions, but people making a left in, they're coming out of the left turn lane. And actually the light will kind of help them the way that goes. So, yeah, I mean, I get to come in and talk about a project where we're reducing the traffic by probably more than half and getting rid of a driveway that was a problem. And yeah, I mean, I think the traffic, it will be better than the previous use. And it seems like it will work in an acceptable manner. So is there anything else I can?
What are your peak hours for usage?
So we actually evaluated the peak of the intersection based on the information available from the Institute of Transportation Engineers. That's the typical standard that we do for the traffic studies, the morning, evening peak. We also looked at the Saturday, which was not something that we looked at Duncan. We went out and got some more counts. As Dave indicated, that, you know, they don't open until 8 in the morning. So the morning peak is typically somewhere between 7 and 9, so they're not even really going to be open much for the morning peak. You know, looking at the commuter peak and the evening peak is projected to generate 78 total trips in and out. But again, by eliminating, you know, when we talk about the capacity, it's usually in a situation like this, people getting out. In this case, the only exiting movement is a right turn. So it's anticipated to work.
So when you say 78, you mean 78 trips within the peak hour, which would be from 4 to 6? 7?
1 hour within that. For when we did the Institute of Transportation Engineers gives you, based on the compilation of studies, you know, in the highest 1 hour during the commuter peak, this is the 60-minute volume. When we do the study, we will count 2 hours. And then from within that, take the highest 1 hour. So it would be 39 entering, 39 exiting during your typical evening is what we would be projecting. And in that situation, this is not going to be a capacity issue. It should operate fine. The queuing seems okay, and there's excess queuing capacity, higher volumes.
They did receive I don't know if they mentioned it, but a PennDOT
Yeah.
review already, which
We-
is,
We did resubmit just the traffic study to PennDOT. Again, I'd said PennDOT had previously approved the Duncan traffic study. The only real difference, other than lowering the traffic even further, was adding Saturday. And PennDOT is, they concur with the results of the traffic study, and at such time as we're ready, as we go further through the process, they be willing to accept and start reviewing the HOP plans.
so we don't typically have that information. And again, considering there was another project, and given the intersection, not knowing that this user was gonna come in later, we still have to review that. That'll be submitted through the land development, but, you know, PennDOT didn't recommend any changes. They were comfortable, in fact, sure they support the changes between the two applicants. So, I went through it, briefly. I have no concerns. We'll do a more technical review, but, I don't anticipate any traffic concerns considering PennDOT's already looked at this twice. But that was nice to get. I think we got it a week ago.
Yes.
And there was no substantial technical comments about the layout.
Do you have any comments or?
No, just one observation, something to keep into consideration is since that is the only exit point. And you're talking about shrubbery and trees and stuff like that, just make sure maintaining the line of sight for the exiting traffic.
Absolutely.
I'll add on that, fire marshal has not reviewed this yet, because really zoning application. I was talking, I think James, when I opened my staff, I anticipate, like the apartment complex down the road, that Randy may want emergency access pavers that probably line up with the bypass lane at the far right corner, that would be near Target World. So off of Butler, then I'm not sure if that's what he would want, but that's what happened where he wanted second access from county builders next to, there's emergency access next to Spatolas. Grass pavers, it's just enough to get fire trucks in there, so, that'll be worked out through the land development. I didn't think that's a big issue, but that'll give the second access.
Yeah, I think that's, I would be driving on the size of this and do they actually even need a second access, or are they just gonna respond from this. That's a conversation, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, once you get through zoning for the fire.
Thank you.
I have one question for you. When you were talking about the vacuums in the back and you said your hours are from 8 to 8. Does the power get cut off to them completely? For the rest of the, from 8 PM to 8 AM?
So people can't just show up and use them.
Yes, as you said that they're free, that you don't have to put any money in them. Does that just, so the only power that's on there is the lights at night?
Yes. They will be shut off at 8 PM.
Yes,
And we'll be happy to do that.
that's pretty active for our customers or.
They're not free.
Not just for any, but so I didn't use them.
We hope they buy a car wash, and then use the back. But yeah. 8 to 8 to 11. But yeah.
I appreciate the look of it. It does look much more inviting, looks much more like a house. So that corner. And I like where the trees are placed that are not as our, Butler Avenue overlay is supposed to be closer to the street. I like how they push back. I think that softens the look of the building as well.
Thank you.
Any other comments from the board?
It was good so far.
Thank you for working with us
Well,
on.
that's a pleasure. Really appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, and just so everybody's aware, I know Dave touched on it, but they're aware of our ordinances that we're revising for landscaping, lighting, stormwater. I think the impervious is actually the same. You're not increasing the impervious, but there's a lot of it, so. And we're doing some traffic improvements, things like that in the area with the other developers. So they'd be willing to work through that and to get through zoning, and work with as best they can with
Yeah,
our
absolutely.
pending ordinances that hopefully will be adopted early next year.
Any questions from the public?
Yeah, sure. Kathleen Davis, 32 Clearview. You said we hear from the person about recycling the water, and I just thought it would be nice to hear about that. And what's in the water that doesn't get recycled either, or goes down the storm cells.
Sanitary.
Don't have to shoot. Oh, sanitary.
Sanitary.
Yeah.
So we know discharging of that water to the. No.
I'm glad.
Yeah, well, I'll would do my best.
Well, you're on.
So I do have lists of all the chemicals that we use, but basically, this is what the chemists have given me. They said, I'm just gonna read it. These are products similar composition and safety to the common household cleaners. All the detergents are biodegradable and safe, widely used household products such as detergents and surface cleaners. So just want to get the site plan. Not to get too technical, and basically, we capture water inside the tunnel and it goes into some underground tanks, and that gets recycled back into the building. And it goes through some sophisticated equipment, and it goes into different parts of the spray wash of the tunnel. So it's about 43 to 45% of so that's what we're currently using right now. It's about like each car wash is about like 35 gallons of water used per car. So and when we take it through, just we have to take it through an MUA process here. That's a Jersey thing, right?
Yeah, I think it is, yeah. I mean, whatever you don't will go through sanitary and then to the treatment.
Well, anyway, so the water gets, all the water will eventually go into a oil water separator and discharge into sanitary.
Any questions?
I think she's good.
For me, no, I just wanted to thank them for working with our township on the look and feel of everything.
Just for clarification, one of our supervisors is joining via Zoom.
Yes, sorry, this is Supervisor Bridget Kunicorn. I am not well, so I'm not able to be there today.
egress, you said, only egress is by taking a right in the county line. So where does that push all those people who are really going to go the other direction? Like, what are the implications for traffic down there?
We're expecting them to circle through. I mean, there's the new connection through the Wawa. That they'll just be able to circle back.
Oh, going through behind the Wawa.
I'm sure people might be.
That's the way it has to work, that's as you.
Go in there, now it's like.
Yeah. That's a good idea.
Hopefully not.
All right.
Yeah, there's no formal action. It's a presentation only. They want, see your feedback, seem positive, so, coordinate with Lister's office and I get some reimbursements for that. You'll be appearing in January.
Yeah.
So, I believe we officially put it on our first meeting in January. If there's any action, I guess.
Well, I really appreciate it, and thanks for making your staff available to us. And appreciate it, and we're looking forward to it. See you again soon. Thank you.
Yeah.
You don't really want to keep them, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great thing. We recycle those. Sorry. Well, thank you for the easel. Have a nice day. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Yeah, so do you.
Okay, agenda item. Number 8. B, approved regular bill list dated December 4th, $75,241.57. C, approved pre-paid bills list for November 21st, 2024 of $111,573.31. Dated November 25th in the amount of $6,230.05 and December 4th in the amount of $96,093.47. D, approved escrow release number 3 for 25 Elaine's Lane in the amount of $16,442.74. And finally, E, approved escrow release number 5 for 4371 Council Line Road in the amount of $56,671.95. Do I have a motion? Bill, do I have a second? Mary Beth, any questions or concerns from the board? Bridget?
Nope, thank you.
Okay. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Okay. On to action items. Number A, consider a motion to approve and adopt resolution 2024-16, the 2025 budget. Dan?
Thank
would you
you.
like to take?
Sure. Just a brief overview of our 2025 budget. The process started 6 months ago in July. I'd like to first thank all the department heads for all their hard work in getting us the information, working with us, going through all the numbers to verify everything. The process, as you know, we had a number of meetings throughout the fall, and we certainly worked hard to refine the budget to get it in the spots that it's in. As such, we are asking and recommending a 1.5 mil increase for 2025, which will go to the general fund. To give it an idea, the 1.5 mil increase will increase the average tax for the homeowner in New Britain by about $60 a year or $5 a month. So while it's significant, it is not overwhelming in our opinion, but we do take it very seriously when we ask to increase taxes. It's never an easy ask, and it's not one that we take lightly. To give an idea, we have gone through the budget and reduced overall spending by about $1.6 million from 2024. Now, granted, a lot of that was ARPA money that has expired, but we did have an overall reduction in spending. And I think that's a credit to the staff and the board for going through and looking at all the expense items and trying to make things make sense. Just to give you an idea, in the general fund, we only have a $50,000 increase in spending for between 2024 and 2025. When you consider that the general fund is where we house the police department, and this personnel costs and insurance costs are the lion's share of our budget, we think that that shows a real considerate effort to reduce spending where we could. So while we know there's natural increases, health insurance went up 7%. Our wages went up 3.5%. We take those into consideration, but we're still able to take that number and bring it to only a $50,000 increase in spending between the 2 years. And we think that's significant. We're continuing to build our reserves. In the general fund, we have $2.6 million in reserve. In the capital improvement fund, we have 2.7. And in our restricted funds, which are such as the open space and the other funds that are restricted by use, we have about 6.5 million. So we're keeping our fund balances. One of the reasons we've asked for the millage increase is so we can reduce the necessity of taking an opening balance number out of the fund balance. We're trying to reduce the dependency on that opening balance number. So I would respectfully ask that the board adopt resolution. I gotta put my glasses on to read this, sorry. 2416 to adopt the 2025 budget.
What's your motion?
Do I have a second? Mary Beth. I'd just like to say thank you very much to the staff and to the board for working all together, coming up with this very sound budget. Looking forward to seeing it implemented next year. Any other questions or concerns from the board? No? Bridget?
Just a thank you to all our department heads for working so hard to conserve where we can.
Thank you. Any questions from the public? No? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you. And I'd like to give a special thanks to both Alex and Kristen Carpenter, our finance director, who put up with me making constant format changes and trying to take what I say and make it work. Sometimes might not explain it exactly the way I want, but they did a great job and I certainly appreciate it. The next resolution is 24-17, which sets the tax rate for 2025. I would respectfully ask that the board approve resolution 24-17.
Do I have to approve that?
I'll make a motion for resolution 24-17.
Stephanie, do I have a second?
I'll second that.
We'll say Bridget. Any questions or concerns from the board? No? Any from the public? No? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you. The next resolution is 24-17, which sets our fund balance requirements for, 18, I'm sorry. 24, yeah, glasses, right? 24-18, which sets the fund balance policy for 2025.
Second?
Second, but their minutes after the business meeting agenda has to be changed and it says 2024 fund balance policy.
2025.
Have there been any changes to the fund balance from the previous year?
No,
Okay.
we went through and made sure we went through and cross-checked everything. The only thing that did change is the title to Fund 20.
Any questions from the board? Any from the public? No? All those in favour, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you. And lastly, respectfully ask the board to approve resolution 2024-19, which is a resolution to creating a first responder recruitment and retention stipend for active members of the volunteer fire department.
I'll make a motion to approve 24-19.
Second? Second. Stephanie? Any questions or concerns from the board? Any from the public? No? Thank you to our EMS and first responders. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you. And lastly, I'd like to say on behalf of the staff, I wish the residents, the volunteers and supervisors a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
We are now on to action item E. Consider a motion to approve the co-responder memorandum of understanding. Chief.
Yes, Madam Chair. So before the board is a memorandum of understanding between several police departments, including us and the Bucks County Human Services Division. This MOU would provide us with a co-responder, which is a civilian social worker that would be available to follow up on calls or even possibly respond to calls where they can better assist the residents by providing resources, trying to get them connected to services and things like that. The MOU has been reviewed by our solicitor's office. Some notes in there, you know, I broke down some key points. Basically, the MOU is good for 2 years, starting in February. After 2 years, we could renew. There would be the potential though that we would have to pick up the cost or share the cost of the co-responder salary. It's covered by grants for the first 2 years. This is becoming a bigger national push. The state of Pennsylvania is on board with it. So we're starting to see where there's more grant funding being pushed out for co-responder programs such as this. So there is the potential that, you know, grants would still be available 2 years from now for us to apply. Another point is that this is separate from, if you recall, over the summer, we had Central Bucks Regional Police Department's Victim Services Unit come in, present to us. We are going to become a part of that. We're actually onboarding this month with the Victim Services Unit. So this is separate from that. They pretty much focus on the victim side of things, where co-responders are more of crisis mental health type things that the Victim Services Unit really isn't equipped to handle. You know, I feel that this is a very worthwhile program that the township should be involved in. It's a great resource for the police department. It kind of frees us up a little bit more and also provides better services to the community members, the residents, and with the knowledge that they have, the expertise that they have to get people connected to services.
Having looked at this other parts of the county as well, have you seen what kind of response has gone through those?
Yeah, actually, the Human Services Division held a law enforcement and human services symposium mid-November. I went to that. They had a few of the chiefs that had co-responders in their departments or associated with the departments. The co-responders themselves were there, and they really had some great stuff to say about the program, how successful it is. It really cuts down on what we call repeat callers, and we have several in the township, whereas the police officers don't have the tools or the time to get those people connected to services. They've basically cut them down, you know, by over 90%. So it's a great asset in that regards. Yeah, I think Ben Salem's co-responder program's been over 3 years now. Yeah. Yeah, so typically what they've done, I think I put in there, there's over 24 police departments in the county that are supported by 10 co-responders. So, Ben Salem has their own because of their size. And then there's like Middletown, Falls Township. They share one. Up in the northern end of the county, there's one co-responder for, I believe, 6 or 7 departments because they're smaller. Geographically, they don't have as much population to serve. However, from talking to the human services people, the people that head the project and are responsible for the co-responders, they like to keep it the 3 or 4 departments. They don't want to get it too spread out.
So do I have a motion to?
I'll make that motion.
Richard, do I have a second? I'll second. Stephanie, any other questions from the board? Any questions from the public? No? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Motion to consider, motion to approve the revised conservation easements for Mill Ridge properties.
Thank you. So the property owner previously asked the township to modify the existing conservation easement to plant some native species on the property. So you need to revise the conservation easement so that they can in fact do this. And no cost to the township, which is always a nice thing.
Any questions from the board? No, that's what I should say. Do we have a motion to approve the revised conservation easements for Mill Ridge properties? Bill, do I have a second? I'll second. Mary Beth? None from the board? Any from the public? No, great program. Great to see how it progresses would be good. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Consider a motion to approve the tax assessment appeal stipulation for legal oil.
So this is a tax assessment appeal dating back to 2016. The Luke Oil at the corner of Butler and County line, so right here where the presentation was, across the street. Property owner at Central Bucks School District have negotiated a settlement. And for the township, it lowers the assessed value. What that means for the township is a refund to the owner for about $3,818.19. So it's a little less than $500 a year that comes out to for all the tax years. So they'll get a refund for that, and then going forward, it would be about $560 less in taxes to the township each year. So the school district has approved it, and we recommend that the board approve it as well.
Do I have a motion to approve the tax assessment appeal stipulation for legal oil?
I'll make that motion.
Stephanie, do I have a? Do I have a second?
Oh, sorry.
Bill, any questions from the board? No. Any questions from the public? No. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Action item 8, consider a motion to approve the CP Rankin documentation of declaration of pedestrian access easement, declaration of conservation easement, and deed of dedication. Adam.
So my triple header right here. So this is a 28,000 square foot building addition to the operation that was approved late last year. The conservation easement, which is standard conservation easement, pedestrian access for sidewalks, and then the deed of dedication as well, which handles the ultimate right of way for County Line Road. So some pretty standard fare stuff, but ultimately good things.
No, and I'd just like to add, just to highlight, the applicant, CP Rankin, worked with the township staff, mainly my traffic engineer and Janine, to provide a larger access for potential connection with Buyer's Choice future development. If you know, you've seen a sketch plan maybe 2 years ago now, a year ago. There's a creek there, a culvert, across County Line Road. You have some woodlands in there, so telephone poles, guide rail. So I requested, and they granted it. They will be granting it once you approve it. A larger access to try tying in case it's a trail and not formal sidewalk. And that was very difficult to deal with about the telephone pole and guide rail for the public sidewalk. In fact, it got to a point where we almost had to nix the whole sidewalk connection. And I came up with a design to kind of lay, or with them, to kind of come around the telephone pole and guide rail, not touch it. And this access will allow Buyer's Choice to do that. And then the conservation easement is actually a combination of, there's some open land in the back. It's like less than a third of an acre, but got some natural resources, but also prevents them from further subdividing, putting another building. It's kind of deed restriction as well, as far as the conservation. And the dedication, this is one thing I haven't spoken with Dan, and Scott and I go back and forth on, but it's a formal deed of dedication, not a grant of easement, a declaration of easement. I think in the past, your other solicitor has done easements, and there's some legal issues with that. So Scott is recommending actually formal deed of dedication, even though it's a county line, PennDOT highway, future improvements.
Do I have a motion to approve all those documentation?
I'll make that motion.
Mary Beth, do I have a second? Second.
Second.
We'll give it to Bridget. Any other questions from the board? No. Any from the public? No.
Well, this is a theoretical question. This doesn't sound big enough to constitute what I'm interested in. But I know sometimes if there's a change on a plot, that you can ask for more. So say in terms of improving stormwater, ways the stormwater runs off and stuff. But I think it has to be a high percentage, like 50%. But this doesn't sound like it comes anywhere near that. Is that right?
That would have been part of, I guess, the land development approval.
I just think I'm not following the whole. You mean you related to conservation easement?
Oh, no,
Oh,
no. I've just that there's change on they're making a change on the way they are built on their property in some way or another. I'm not familiar with it, and that's my fault.
it's a building addition to the existing CP Rankin.
Okay, it's an addition. So is it enough of an addition that gives you the ability to say, well, since you're making that addition, we would like to up the ante on some other thing?
It had already been too,
You
the
had-
plans being full.
Okay,
Yeah,
all right.
yes, but when we adopt the new ordinances, that's something that EAC recommended and PEC, that if the expansion is large enough, they need to go back and look at the design. That would, yes. And this job's already been done and approved a while ago, almost a year ago. But yeah, the new ordinances will have some of that, it's very sustainability.
Okay. Okay, I was probably so long ago.
Yeah.
I thought it already existed.
This is what happens when you don't have a land use attorney shepherd a project through and you try to do it yourself, no attorney. And unfortunately, Scott and I had to hold their hand a little bit through it, and it's taking way too long.
Yeah, to this point.
Yeah.
All right. That being said, I call the question. All those in favour, please say aye.
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 Motion passes. Okay, we're on to information items. Engineers report.
Manager report.
I already talked to them. Actually, I do have one item. I just want to brief the board.
Actually, I just realized I think we need left go in November, but this is our last report for the year, so it's gonna be in November. It's getting a little shorter, unfortunately. Land development, kind of quiet this time of year, through the holidays. But I don't have any changes to our November engineer's report. I will say, you know, we're still helping out with zoning. Janine's been gracious to try to balance engineering and zoning, and hopefully things will, you know, continue to go smooth, and you can eventually find a zoning officer, so we can go back and just being engineers. But no, I don't have any additions or changes. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? No?
No questions.
Any questions, Bridget?
Nope.
Thank you very much. James?
Yes, I just want to update the board in the, on the building remediation project. We did have a meeting with the contractor last week, yes. And they laid out a schedule for doing the work in here, doing the work in the entire building. They're working with the chief to schedule the downstairs. We were pleasantly pleased to hear that the project upstairs is probably 4 days. I'm going to say 6, but they're saying 4. And they'll do it in quadrants. They've broken the building into 4 distinct areas, just being one, the lobby, the offices in the admin area, and then the general area in the admin. And they'll do each one of them separate. So, and we've asked them to start in here. So while they're doing that area, people can come in here and still work. But we'll get a start date from them shortly. But we're looking forward to getting that done. As part of that, we had planned to use the ARPA funding to pay for it. But in looking at the ARPA funding, we have about $132,000 left to spend of the ARPA money. I'm not sure the building project is going to cost $132,000. I call it the building project. I'm not sure what it is. They gave us a quote, but a lot of that has to do with the ceiling tiles, a large portion of that. So I'm going to recommend that we, instead of doing the building project, we go back and we take one of the other vehicles the chief bought, allocate that from ARPA, and also the 2 code vehicles that we bought. And that'll spend the remaining amount of our money. We have to have it obligated by the end of 2024. I don't want to leave any money on the table. And so this will take care of that. And the money that we redesignate back in that money will be used to pay for this work. But I didn't want to take the chance of leaving any money on the table and having to give them any money back. So that's the plan for the ARPA funding and this project. We will do that when the project's done. Because all you got to do is touch those tiles.
And upholster cleaner in here?
Oh, it's steam, like having steam clean. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll take, once it's all, obviously everything, it's a really good, they're going to cover everything or take stuff out of the areas while they're working on it. Like in the offices, they won't take out the desk or anything like that. They won't take out these desks. But the things that can be moved, they'll remove. They'll cover everything else with plastic. But when the project's done is when I'd like to get in here and do the work that we're going to do.
It's been falling down.
Yes, so, but that's all.
And there's nothing we need to do. Okay.
You could do a motion just to cover us. A motion to approve the ARPA funding. Reallocation as I outlined. No.
Wasn't things. Make the motion to add that. Because if
Yeah, that's
it's sensitive.
okay.
Okay, do I have a motion to amend the agenda to respond to our manager's request to reallocate our ARPA funds?
Make the motion to amend the agenda to add the item of reallocation of the ARPA funds.
Mary Beth and Bill, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Why?
Okay. Now I shall call a motion to accept the recommendation from our manager to reallocate the ARPA funds to cover the police car and 2 code enforcement cars.
Make that move.
Bill, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Mary Beth? Any questions or concerns from the board? Any questions from the public? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you, and sorry for the late addition.
Time sensitive stuff at the end of the year.
Yeah,
And we do not want to be meeting in 2 weeks.
no.
Okay. All right. Well, any other administration?
No.
No? All right. Board of Supervisors comments. Let's start from Mary Beth.
Well, we have Santa House coming up at the end of this week, Friday and Saturday night. I hope everyone can come out, and enjoy that. And I just want to thank staff and chief for all their hard work this year, and keeping us on track and getting us ready for the future, and fixing some problems that we needed to work on, and doing what they do. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Bill?
I'll reemphasize about the Santa House this Friday and Saturday. We have 3 vocal groups coming on Friday, and we have 1 vocal group on Saturday. Dress warmly, please, if you're coming. So, we've done it before, and we're gonna have hot cocoa and cookies that are available.
Stephanie?
Just thank you to all of our staff, across all of our departments for all their hard work this year. Dan, thank you for jumping in mid-year and helping us, as Mary Beth said, get some things addressed, fixed, and on track, and looking forward to a great year next year.
Thank you.
Bridget?
Just basically echoing what everyone else said. Thank you to our staff and all our departments, and to our community, this year as well. Please come out for Santa House, and I look forward to seeing everyone in the new year, and have a wonderful holiday, whatever you celebrate.
I can add one more item. I believe that one of our supervisors may have supplied the candy canes for Santa House, and I just
Oh,
want to
that's
thank
right. Thank you,
Supervisor
Bill.
William Jones for making that contribution to the community. Thank you.
Very happy to.
You're so sweet. You're so sweet. Thank you, everyone, for a wonderful year. Dan for stepping in this year, and we will have you for a whole year next year. So we will have lots of plans and things to work on next year. It's been my privilege to act as chair this year. I'm so glad that we have worked diligently on our budget and moving forward with everything. I wanted to thank all of our staff, Alex, Sue, and Ryan for doing our route trail ribbon cutting on the 31st of November. Even though we had beautiful weather right up till the day, it turned into a quite interesting afternoon of rain and wind. And cold, yes. We did not get to have hot chocolate then, so definitely Friday night will be hot chocolate night. And basically that would be it. Happy holidays to everyone for whichever holiday that you celebrate in this wonderful month of December and January. Are there any other comments from the board? No? Public comment? Hi. Yep.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays. Okay. Here are our announcements. Santa House is this Friday night from 13th and 14th, starting at 5 p.m. Till 7 p.m. If there is any rain coming in on Saturday, the announcements, if it gets moved, will be on Facebook. We have cancelled the Park and Rec Commission meeting from Tuesday, December the 17th. The Veterans Committee meeting has been cancelled from the 18th. The Zoning Hearing Board meeting on December the 19th has been cancelled. The township building will close early on Friday, December 20th at 12 p.m. for the township Christmas party. The township building will then close again on Tuesday, December 24th and the 25th. We will close early on Tuesday, the 31st at 1 p.m. And we will then also be closed on Wednesday, January 1st, opening for the first day of 2025 on Thursday, January 2nd. How does the days go quickly? Okay, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Stephanie, do I have second?
I'll second.
Mary Beth, all those in favor of adjourning at 8:06? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. We will all meet again on Monday, January 6th at 7 p.m. in this building. Thank you very much.